Mainstream science news. High energy particles discovered in Antarctica. Scientists are baffled. Hmm, what do they actually do to earn their paychecks? They spend most of their time baffled. Always baffled because they are so compartmentalized, they cannot understand the full picture. They are stuck decoding data and attempting to use a globe model. They will continue to be baffled, which is sad because they can't see the full picture under this guise. They will always have more questions than answers, and that's too bad considering how much they probably paid for their degree. So, our baffled scientists have been studying a fountain of high energy particles using NASA instruments in Antarctica, and may have discovered evidence of what they are calling proof of a universe parallel to our own. Well, I'm disagreeing with that. However, let's continue to see what they're talking about. The baffling discovery of cosmic ray-like particles streaming from the ice was first dismissed by scientists as background noise. This was detected in 2014 and 2016 by NASA's Antarctic Impulsive Transient Antenna, also known as ANITA. The ANITA experiment has been designed to study ultra-high energy cosmic neutrinos, detecting the radio pulses emitted by their interactions with the Antarctic ice sheet. This is to be accomplished by using an array of radio antennas suspended from a helium balloon flying at a height of about 37,000 meters, which is about 122,000 feet in the air. The neutrinos, which are subatomic particles with a mass close to zero, produce radio pulses in the ice because of the Icarian effect. This effect is also known as Icarian radiation, and is the phenomenon where a particle is traveling faster than the phase velocity of light in a dense dielectric, such as salt or ice. This Icarian effect produces a shower of secondary charged particles which contain a charade anisotropy and thus emits a cone of coherent radiation in the radio or microwave part of the electromagnetic spectrum. So what is really going on here is the neutrinos are neutral particles, and when it enters the angel below, it then becomes a positive or negative, which is the secondary charged particle they are talking about. They will then come up from the ground into the cones, which is where ANITA is then collecting the data and recording when each of these angels come online. We can see this in the corrected diagram I made. Also note that when the opposing force comes into the equation, we get what is called a bow shock. We will go more into detail about that here shortly. So of course scientists are baffled that the particles in Antarctica are streaming from the ground up, a feat normally considered impossible for high energy particles. They have stated they resemble an upside down cosmic ray shower, and it looked just like a cosmic ray as seen a reflection off the ice sheet, but wasn't being reflected. They said it was as if the cosmic ray had come out of the ground itself. As you can see in the animation, this is really the effect they are seeing. As we delve deeper into this information, We discover this observatory is buried a mile deep into the ice. A cosmic ray observatory buried into the underworld should raise some flags with you all. I know it does for me. So they are saying they are observing some of the most distant and violent phenomenon in the cosmos, such as colliding black holes, galaxies with superviolent cores, and mysterious gamma ray bursts. All this is being observed from down in the earth. Let that sink in for just a moment. Let's see what this observatory looks like. What it seems that's really going on here is they are digging down into one of our angel rooms. What they're talking about is the happenings in the underworld. Here, they show us what they say is coming down from outer space. But when we switch it over to our map, it makes a lot more sense. We can see the below going to the above, connecting and coming back down. This is how the halos are created. So what they have been talking about are the cones that we have been working with from Walter Russell's work. The height of the halos and the cone angles, along with the power being generated, will each have a different effect. These are created by the angels, or what mainstream now calls particle accelerators, as we have stated before. This is science's feeble attempt to try to deceive us with outer space and alternate universe theories to fulfill their agenda. When you have APM eyes, it is easy to understand what scientists are talking about and be able to show the cause of the effects. We also see this mirroring in our stars. When I plotted these across the map, we realized that we see a perfect mirror in the heavens. We can see this in this example. Scientists say all this could have been created in the Big Bang. Well, this mirroring is true with all luminaries, and the Big Bang would be the turning on of this glory. Think on a grand scale of electricity, magnetism, and chemical reactions. The halo lattice is one way we can see this. In the atmosphere, it has been recorded of threefold rotational symmetrical crystal particles that are inconsistent of the known ice particles of hexagonal symmetry. What these are consistently seen in, though, are the peri-arc halos, and show that they have a distinct radiative properties that differ from hexagonal ice crystals. Now remember, what is above is below. So if we see this all together, all turned on and all working at once, it would be similar to what you're seeing here. The as above, so below would still hold true, and the mirroring would still be the same. Below we have all the causes occurring, and above we see the effects. This is the Big Bang. This is all happening in our realm. It doesn't take outer space for any of this to occur. Our atmosphere holds many layers. Some have an abundance of crystalline material, according to science, which makes the atmosphere highly conductive to all that is occurring. Now we will lead into the aurora borealis. No one has come up with what is occurring here until now. We at APM have a good idea of what this is. The area in the north and south are what's called the bisexual line that we have presented in the Walter Russell chart of the table of elements in our Angels Decoded video. We are seeing the separate colors of the spectrum. They can become either sex depending on which field they are exposed to. Remember, we are talking positives and negatives here. Example, left-hand rule, right-hand rule. Upwards projecting cones or downward projecting cones. The compression in the center and the expansion in the north and south is allowing the colors to separate into the auroras we see, mostly in one solid color. If they drift south, they begin to merge into the rainbow prism effect of blended energy. This has been shown in the past with Sandra and her hubby's work of the spiral as we see here, and in Walter Russell's motor that we have also shown in the past. Let's talk about bow shocks from an APM perspective. A bow shock occurs when the magnetosphere, which is the area surrounding our luminaries in which the magnetic field is the predominant effective magnetic field. So when this magnetosphere of a celestial object interacts with nearby flowing opposing forces in its path, such as the solar wind, it is the boundary at which the speed of the stellar wind abruptly drops as a result of its approach to the magnetopause. A common complication in astrophysics is the presence of a magnetic field. For instance, The charged particles making up the solar wind follow spiral paths along magnetic field lines. The velocity of each particle as it gyrates around a field line can be treated similarly to a thermal velocity in an ordinary gas. And in an ordinary gas, that means thermal velocity is roughly the speed of sound. At the bow shock, the bulk forward velocity of the push, which is the component of the velocity parallel to the field lines about which the particles are gyrating, drops below the speed at which the particles are gyrating. The sun is radiating spiraling charged particles from the torus field it creates. We see this in the Parker spiral. This is a localized event. Science calls this the solar wind, which is the spiraling magnetic field. We at APM know this magnetic field to originate from angel technology, the sun's halo, and modern terminology is a particle accelerator. Bow shocks form at comets as a result of the interaction between the opposing forces and the cometary trajectory of travel. As one approaches the sun, the opposing electromagnetic forces of the sun reveals gas being released from the cometary nucleus, revealing an atmosphere called a coma. The coma is partially ionized by sunlight, and when the opposing forces pass through this ion coma, the bow shock appears. This is not unique to the sun, as every luminary will have this pressure wave, and it's only revealed when a force is opposing it. From an APM perspective, you must always assume that a comet has a tail. The only reason you don't see it at times is because of distance, perspective, or lack of opposing forces. The first observations of the bow shock were made in the 1980s by comets Giacoboni, Halley's Comet, and Grigg Comet. It was then found that bow shocks at comets are wider and more gradual. These observations were all made near the perihelion, when the bow shocks became visible due to the opposing force. The perihelion is when the comet comes to the closest point to the sun that it's going to get. As you know from APM perspective, all luminaries produce their own electromagnetic fields, as they are the same technologies. The only difference would be their frequencies, their perspective layers, and the products that their layers allow them to interact with. Using this information laid out, I hope you have an understanding of what's going on with bow shocks, and see the given information as more substance that our realm is a technological creating realm. We are truly seeing Creator's glory in all of this realm. Glory meaning magnificence and great beauty with great pride.